Hello, just waiting for Mr. Pedro Morillo Jr. to jump in. He's online. I'm just waiting for him to join the live. As soon as he joins, we'll get started. How's everybody's Saturday going? Welcome. How you doing? Just waiting for Mr. Pedro Morillo to join. I appreciate you jumping in. You're welcome. Thank you. Ah, he just popped in.
Hey, what's up,
What's up?
brother? How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Just same old, same old. Sorry, adjusting the volume and the camera and all that good stuff.
It's all right. Get
You
it
looking
right.
good, brother? Looking good.
I'm trying. I'm taking notes from you.
I'm taking notes from you, so I don't know how we doing this.
It's okay. We can feed off each other.
No doubt, no doubt. Hey, real quick, I just want to tell you, man. Like, what was it? 4 or 5 years ago, we did this, and now here we are. And I just want to say, man, I'm really proud of you continuing to do what you do, keep doing your thing, man. I'm very happy. I see what you're doing, and just keep going, man. I really appreciate you having me and seeing you progress with your career and your choices, you know?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. But I have to be honest to say that if it wasn't for artists like you to inspire me, this would not even exist. I tell everybody I'm a fan first. And because I'm a fan first, I reach out to artists like you because you inspire me.
Right on. Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I know oftentimes, um, I mean, I consider myself an artist as well. I dabble, but I think that it is inspiring to an artist to know that the stuff that you spew from your soul out into the universe is received. And I want to tell you that from me to you, you are received, at least with me, you're received. And obviously to the universe as well, because you wouldn't have the opportunities that you have if other people didn't know what you bring.
Absolutely. I highly agree with that. And that's why I've always felt compelled to like really not just put myself out there, but really allow people to believe that like you do matter. You do whatever you put out there. Not everybody, you know, in the day and age that we live now, not everybody's willing to give you the recognition or tell you, hey, you're doing your thing. And I've always taken it upon myself, even when I'm on set, you know, with the random PA that'll come asking for me or whatever, to just make them feel that they're appreciated and they're good. And hearing you say that makes me feel great, because that's what I live by. I see that my funny story, someone that's here, I want to give him a shout out because I would love for him to feel good about himself today too. My man Rizwan Ahmad, my guy, about the same time that you and I had, you know, had our dance, he was my Uber driver from when I lived on the Upper East Side, and he took me to shoot this film deep in Toms River, New Jersey. I'm talking about like an hour and a half trip just to get there, because I didn't want to stay at the hotel out there. I wanted to come back home.
Right.
And shout outs to him. He appreciated my my Spider-Man mug. But yeah, man. So, you know what else can I tell you, brother? Other than the fact that, you know, just keeping myself balanced, reading, working on myself diligently day in and day out, and keeping myself busy with the kids, giving back, auditioning. You know, this week was you know when you just cruise and then out of nowhere just traffic just like gets right in front of you and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
this wasn't anywhere near 2 minutes ago. That was this week for me, but luckily it's smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. So let's get into it a little bit.
Let's do
I
it.
put on my journalist hat. So, first of all, I want to ask you, how have you been doing during this whole pandemic? Like, what has life been for Pedro doing all this?
Well, I can tell you that it's been a roller coaster. You know, through my good fortune, I've been blessed. Yo, the timing was impeccable. Me and my girlfriend, Michelle, we got together. We moved into this apartment that we are in now. Before, I lived in a little tiny studio, so thank God that we're not there anymore. Now we're at an apartment that actually we can move around in. So luckily, she and I have been keeping her. She's been keeping me level-headed and inspiring, you know, each other, because there are days that she's down and then I got to pick her up. And then there's a lot of days that I'm down and then I got to pick her up, you know? And so in that aspect, I want to give her a big shout out, because without her, you know, this would have been a much tougher and rougher experience. So
Right.
other than having, you know, more of a bond with my life partner, you know, I've just been really taking a deeper spiritual approach with myself, with my life. You know, I started taking in stoicism, because you know, being an actor or my background as a dancer, they're very contrasting. As a dancer, I'm like the Leonardo DiCaprio. You know, if I go back to auditioning as a dancer, the job is mine. I have no doubt about it. The job is mine. But now as an actor, you know, you're judged much more critically and harsher, and it's not even based on your acting. So I've been looking for possible ways of keeping myself in a very Zen way. So I picked up meditation last year. I've been continuing that right before the pandemic, practicing stoicism, philosophy. I've been reading. I'm not going to sit here and say that all I've been doing is working on myself. I've been going hard on Pokemon. Oh, man, that's such a problem for me right now. My girlfriend bought a freaking Switch, so we've been playing Switch games and stuff. And this is like my favorite time of the year. Well, this particular brother is, brother, Vega threw me off. Okay, Vega, I see you. This particular time of the year is award season. Usually this is like October through December. So me and Michelle have been watching a ton of movies, man, and just seeing what's out there and learning who's casting what, who's doing what, or who's booking the jobs that I'm should be auditioning or booking, and just keeping myself educated in the business, because there's a big difference between the business of acting and just being passionate about the craft. So other than that, being a father, a good son, a good brother, a good boyfriend, and a good friend. And more, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I've got 30 kids, 30 kids that I mentor, 8 weeks now that I mentor. They're from all over New York City, black and brown kids that are misfortunate enough to not get all the opportunities that rich kids from, you know, better luck that they don't have with each other and whatnot. I mentor them twice a week, and that's been actually something that has really given me a lot of sense of gratitude, because I get to give back the blessings that God's given me. I can see if I can steamroll something with them, you know, and they're doing excellent work.
That's awesome. I want to shout out your lady. I want to shout out Michelle, who is an awesome choreographer herself. She made my list of people that I'm going to call to have on the show. I want to talk to her as well, because I think that she has, you know, some things to offer the universe as far as through my portal. So I definitely will be reaching out to talk to her.
I'm usually shocked when people want to talk to me, because I'm like, oh, I think you want to talk to her, because she's got a journey that, you know, is really worth listening to. You know, you see the glitz and the glamour, but the amount of hard work that she's put into herself, her dancing, and just putting herself out there is very incredible. I'd love to see you guys chop it up.
I agree. And of course, you know, you've been on my radar for a long time, because in your own right, you're a dynamic artist, and you mentioned that you dance. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you get your start?
It actually started with this. Not this mug, but with Spider-Man. So when I was 6, 7 years old, I wanted to be Spider-Man. And I couldn't figure out how to do that. And then my parents were very protective of me. So, you know, growing up in Washington Heights in New York City, that was school of hard knocks. That was gunfire every night, and drugs, and it was just, you know, New York City in the 90s. So I went to cartoons and video games. So I wanted to be Spider-Man, but I didn't know how to do that. And because I was always home, I landed on this video game called Bust a Groove, right? And in this video game, it featured this dancer named Heat, Heat, Heat. If you YouTube Bust a Groove Heat, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I saw him, like, again, I'm first generation Dominican, and all I knew, you know, Spanish was my first language, even though I was born and raised here. So all I knew was things that was influenced by my parents. So when I saw this guy spinning and rolling around on the floor, I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? But I want to do that. Like, I don't get that, but how can I get myself involved in that? And to make a long story short, the stigma that breakdancing had back in 1999 didn't sit too well with my parents, because my father and my mother saw the remnants of breaking in the 80s, where it went from gangs to breaking crews, and they didn't see that as something positive for me to be a part of. So I kind of snuck out from behind them after I started meeting people and showing people, yo, can you tell me what this guy's doing right here? Like, what is that stuff? And, you know, you start meeting people, and then I was a little famous back in 1999 because I had a video game show that I would be the host of. So people knew me, people wanted to be me. So I had a lot of access to people, and I would say, how can I do this? And then I met people, and then I learned, and I would have to sneak out of my mom's house to pray. Oh, Mom, I'm going to walk the dog. I'll be right back. 90 minutes later, I'd come back sweating, and she'd be like, well, were you running with the dog? It's like, yeah. But I was literally sneaking out to dance, and it just kind of took off from there, you know?
Yeah. So you would take your dog with you to wherever you went, you know, to bust moves, and the dog would be sitting there chilling with you while you're working it out.
It was literally right across the street from my parents' house. There was a park by my mom's house, so I would go there and I would pray to God that they didn't come out looking, and I would just, you know, linoleum on the floor and just back and forth. Back. I didn't even stretch because I didn't have time. It's like I gotta bang it out, you know, because if my mom or my dad were like be back in 30 minutes, then I got to get there, do what I can, and then run back home, you know? So all of that stopped when I turned 17 and I brought home a check, a big check. And they were like, oh, okay, you got this. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
talk
Talk about the dance culture a little bit. You know, I too, my beginnings were in dance. I used to dance for a couple 80s hip hop groups back in the day, like that whole, I never really went on tour, but it was like maybe I went to New York and as far as south as DC, and I'm from New Jersey, so that was big for me to be able to travel and do the thing that I love to do, was to dance. And just be in the midst of these people that I would hear on the radio, that meant a lot to me. They didn't even have to pay me. I would just like to be there, be in the midst of it all, exuding what I love to do. Talk a little bit about that culture and how it related to you.
So, in regards to hip hop and breaking, you know, I started breaking in '99, and then about a year and a half later, I come and I meet a pioneer and legendary b-boy named Quickstep from Full Circle Soldiers, part of my crew. Or I'm part of his crew, him and his wife's crew, Full Circle Soldiers, and I started to want to be around that because now I'm not around people like me trying to learn. From an early age, I just knew that I needed to surround myself with people that were better than me so that I can watch and learn. I didn't ask, but I just wanted to be around. So as I kept practicing with legendary like I'm talking about like b-boys in the community that now are like known worldwide. They would just so happen to be at this point in time in New York. Crews like Skill Methods crew were in New York. Crews like Full Circle, Breaks crew, Supreme Beings, like these were big crews in New York City that now those members, a lot of them live in LA because they're pursuing their artistic career out in LA. So I started in the battle scene. I didn't care about like the commercial world. I wanted to compete. I wanted to battle. I didn't understand battling, but I had a lot of anger in me because, you know, the strict upbringing and my competitiveness, you know, I would later come to find out that I'm just a very competitive person in certain aspects. So as years kept going by in the early 2000s, I would enter a lot of dance competitions that were in New York. Unfortunately, in New York, not a lot of people really put focus in becoming great. You see people that are in a phase, but, you know, not everybody's really pursuing that. And then we also in New York, similar to the Knicks, if you follow the Knicks, you know, we were a laughing stock. You know, you talked about like the LA b-boys or the b-boys across in Korea, South Korea, or Japan, or in Europe, you know. So the New York dancers were kind of like, yeah, you guys are the mecca of dance, but you guys aren't to be taken serious. So I took that personal. I took that very personal. And I busted my ass every day, just practicing and practicing. So I became something known of a bully in the breaking culture, because I just wanted to compete. I wanted to battle. So we'd go to jams. I wouldn't shake your hand. I was like, forget that. I'm gonna get in your hand and I'm gonna really take you down. And I just competed a lot, and people recognize that, like, yo, this guy is really about it. So I started meeting more people, getting acquainted with more of the New York City people. Then I started meeting people overseas that kind of saw that environment of like my hostile way of being, but they wanted that, you know. They were like, oh, this guy's on to something, you know. My homegirl Tiff Star knows about that. So people would just want to practice and be around me, and I'd be like, yo, we're not doing no fake shit. If you're here, we're practicing. I don't want to see, you know, thank God there wasn't no Instagram at the time. I don't want to see no Instagram exchanges going on. We're here practicing. We're here. There's a big difference between practice and training. We're here training, right? We're going to come out of here like fucking gladiators. Sorry, I just cursed. I don't know if this is the PG.
I welcome that. I welcome that.
Okay, so yeah, and then I disassociated myself from a lot of people in New York and just stuck around with a core group of people that I knew that were real, that weren't fake. Because unfortunately, you know, in this community, there's just people that want in for the clout, and then there's people that want to actually go out and battle. And I'm talking about, like, I would go to Florida, I would go to Boston, Connecticut, just to be like, my dance name is Sick Mode. I'd be like, Sick Mode, Wash Ice Jesus is here. And you would know who I am. And even if I lost, I'd go out losing like a freaking champion, you know? But then, you know, you got the commercial world. And because I was with Quick Step and Rockefeller, they were introducing me to the commercial world of performing and auditioning and stuff like that. And that just gave me a split. I was like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because on one end, I would practice hard to be a b-boy, and then on the other end, I would practice power moves just to be able to go to auditions and do things that the competitiveness in me that they couldn't do, you know. And now I stepped away from the dance scene and culture back in 2011. It hit me at that point that there was a ceiling, and I've hit that. I've done everything that I wanted to do. I've been in TV shows. I've danced with artists. I've toured around the world. I almost got into a tour with Cirque du Soleil, and because of my injuries and surgeries that were coming up, I said to myself, what are the pros and cons of now me continuing and pursuing this? What can I get out of this? And I would look at the pioneers that were in that moment then. Do I want to be like them, or do I want to go above and beyond? And I felt like my calling was more than that. So fast forward now, I just practice to stay in shape. If somebody wants to hire me, that's going to cost you a lot of money, but I'm still available. And the dance and battle scene isn't the same anymore. Like, you literally got dudes exchanging Instagram handles in the middle of a battle. It's no longer like competitive. It's no longer like crew versus crew. It's just, you know, you got a few b-boys from my generation that are still doing their thing like that same approach. But now it's kind of like Disney. It's like Times Square. It's like Disneyland, you know? It's just like, it's like a fun thing, which is cool. If that's where it's headed, then that's cool. But I'm happy that when I was involved, you had to bring your A game. If you crashed or you dragged or if you dressed whack, if your sneakers were creased and dirty, you lost. That's it. And that has molded me to be the man that I am today.
Yeah, I remember that well. And just in talking to you, you're bringing back so much of yesteryear for me. Talk to me about when you first earned money being a dancer. Like the first time that you earned a wage and brought home money from doing what you love to do. What was that feeling like? What was the job? What was the job, and what was the feeling like?
So my brother from another mother, his name is B-Boy Mach 3. We grew up together. We started breaking at the same time. We didn't know about it up until like 10 years later. He learned quickly. He had more independence. In other words, he started, you know, my parents wouldn't allow me to go to the South Bronx and practice with like Full Circle or with Rocksteady when they were at Hunts Point. You know, I wasn't allowed to go that far away from Washington Heights, but he was. He learned really fast. But because him and I have always had a keen sense of brotherhood, you know, we always looked out for each other. And there was one day that he was doing a performance and this b-boy by the name of Rockism was unable to perform, so he pitched, oh, let's get Sick in. Now, by the way, I only had about a year and a half dancing. I didn't have anything in me under my belt. I had just barely learned windmills. So little version of me is like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, well, and then it was just kind of like I was just thrown in the fire. And that's just been my life. I've always just been thrown in the fire, and it just, Jesus, grab the wheel while I look at the GPS and figure this out, you know? And I performed. It was the worst thing that you could have ever, like, seen. I was just awful. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was crashing and burning, the whole works. It was a disaster. And it was such a disaster that the man that was supposed to pay me pays Mock, and then he tells me, unfortunately, we don't have anything for you. But little does he know is that his husband had already cut me off a check for $300 like 10 minutes before. And I didn't say anything. But then his husband just so happens to hear, and he's like, I've already paid him. And he was like, oh. And he gave him that look.
Wow.
You know that look, like, mother.
You fucked up.
So why would we pay this guy that? This guy's worth like $10. A MetroCard home or something. That's what we should have paid him. But that was that was the very beginning. And
right.
Then when I really started to make money as a dancer was I met someone that had a company, and he would do college performances and college shows, and we would drive out all over the place. And this goes now a hookup from a homie of mine named B-Boy Flashback and Flips. I don't know if you're familiar with this b-boy named Flips. Flips is universally recognized in the dance community because he's done everything. You Got Served, all the Step Up movies, like all the big time stuff he was always in. But before he got to that, he was here in New York, and he would be like, would you guys want to do a show? And we would do gigs with this guy named Steve Love. And we'd go out. We'd get paid barely anything. We'd $200, $250, $300. But for me, living in my mom's house as a teenager, I'm like, yo, Jordans. Every Saturday, I would get the freshest pair of Jordans. And that was it for me, you know? And I would just, every like 3-4 days, I'd be doing a performance somewhere in the United States. We'd take a long road trip, perform, spend the night, drive either somewhere else or come back home. And from there, you start meeting people. And then I got with an agency in 2006. And that's where it just took off. I at the same time, I started booking commercials as a dancer. I started booking commercials, little TV roles as a dancer. Just a lot of opportunities that I was like, wow, I never knew I could do these things. And it just kind of just took off from there once I got with an agency, because now I'm doing a lot of things here in New York. And as the production value in New York started bringing itself up, you know, you've got the Tonight Show, you've got SNL, and I was just there all the time, you know, and then I started bringing that money in at home, which allowed me then to pay my parents, like, their bills, my bills. And I've never had a real job. I've never been, like, in an office, whatever people do to make minimum wage living. I've never had that.
That's a blessing.
And it's because God blessed me with the skills and the perseverance to just go after what I want and really get good at something so that I can be recognized for it.
Awesome. Awesome. So how did you migrate from the dancing into the acting?
I'm going to say God first, because in the power of the universe and putting your intentions out in the universe, I personally was living in my mom's place, and it just so happened that on this day they were shooting the film We Own the Night. It's starring Joaquin Phoenix, who's my favorite actor of all time. Joaquin Phoenix and Eva Mendes, directed by James Gray. Your man Mark Wahlberg was in it. Like, it was a heavy hitter cast. Mm-hmm. And where I lived in Washington Heights was across the street from me, adjacent from me, was this big church, which was a movie theater, an old school vaudeville theater, but now it's a church and an event space called the United Palace. And they were shooting a scene there. So I'm outside with my boy Trends, and we're like, yo, what are they doing over there, man? And I ask a PA, and I say to him, what are they doing there? He says, oh, they're shooting a movie. And I was like, I want to be in a movie. How can I be in it? And he tells me, you got to audition. And I was like, all right, thanks. Let me ask somebody to audition me or something. Like, what do I do with this information? So that stuck with me, and that whole production, literally, as I stepped outside, you saw the trucks, PAs, lighting, the whole shebang. You hear action, and I'm looking out of my window like, man, how can I do that? You know? So now we fast forward to a year later where I'm like, to hell with that. Let me just keep focusing on my breaking. I get a phone call from my boy Geronimo, and he tells me, yo, they're looking for someone to train Joaquin Phoenix for this film. And I say, oh, yeah, I can do that. Like the guy from Gladiator, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, snap, that's dope. Yeah, I can do that. So we are now in touch. I'm in touch with production. They give me the address. I go to his apartment downtown Manhattan. And I go in, I knock, and it's just him. And he opens the door. He's like, hey, man, what the hell? How are you, man? You know, and he's very like, you know, like he's very much like this. Like anything that happens, it's just like it's kind of like a dance, you know? So I was really young. I you know, I hadn't been around a celebrity like that, but I was trying to play it cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm teaching my guy, and you know, he's having a little bit of a party right before we do anything, and I am in a position where I'm like, I've never done that, and I don't know if I should do that. This version of me now would have been like, oh, let's party it up. But back then I was like, no, let me not do that. I don't do that, by the way. But to be able to say, yo, me and Joaquin did that once, that's a nice story. So anyway, I'm teaching him. We go on set a week later. Mind you, he used to break. Like, I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Him and his brother could dance very well.
Yeah. So we're chopping it up, and he sees what I'm doing, but he doesn't want to do what I'm teaching him. He wants to do what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh man, you know, like he doesn't have like windmills and stuff. He could do a little thing on the floor, but nothing like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to teach him things that he would feel proud of. So we're on set, and he does everything that I told him not to do. He does everything that he saw me do. Now, I don't know if you're familiar, but I'm doing like windmill halos and all types of stuff. And my guy went for that. And then I don't know if he had a hand in this, but if you see the movie Two Lovers, my guy does what I did. And it just looks like he just crashed and his neck kind of just went in one direction, and it was just like that. But it worked out. And seeing him go from this twitchy guy to seeing him act with like Gwyneth Paltrow, because the scene that I'm in and I'm like playing choreographer, it's with them too. I'm like, yo, this guy can really transform him. This is a normal guy right now. He's just like a regular human being. And that is something that I've very been enamored by, the transformation, a form of a transformation to go from being a person to a character. You bring another sense of life into this world. And that right there did it for me. I was like, I'm going to do it. And it just so happened that because I worked out, I became SAG eligible, the union. And a year later, I do a tour. I paid my initiation fee with SAG with that tour money. And then I said, I got to take it from here. But it wouldn't happen for me for another like 4 years, though.
It happens when it's supposed to happen.
Exactly.
That's what's up. So you've been in an array of productions. Orange is the New Black, Law and Order. What else? Come on, name some things. Help me.
You know, my first gig was The Leftovers, and I that was me coming out of school in 2013. I had booked The Leftovers because they were looking for a young-looking man that could portray a teenager that had tattoos, and I'm kind of full of them, you know? So I auditioned for that, and that took off. Like once I did that, a few months later, I did Louis when Louis CK was cool.
Yeah.
Now we don't work with Louis anymore. But a few months later, I did Louis. Then I didn't book anything for a little bit. It was a humbling experience because you could book a lot. You could book a lot of work and feel like, okay, that's it. I'm headed to Hollywood, but then you get humbled really fast. And then I did Blue Bloods. I did Girls. I did the same casting directors that cast me for Girls cast me for Orange is the New Black. Like you said, Law and Order. I did recently something for NBC. It got canceled, but Lincoln Rhyme, The Hunt for the Bone Collector. And then I did movies. I did Sisters. Sisters. Money Monster with George Clooney. That was fun. Yo, you don't get starstruck like that easily, but there are some people that would really sweep the rug under your feet. My sister's in the house. My other public relation, Angel Fish. I did this little indie film called Angel Fish. That was cool. And funny story. Thank you, Janelle, for bringing that up, because when I was shooting Lincoln Rhyme in New Jersey, on that same night was the premiere night for Angel Fish. And guess where the premiere was? At the United Palace, where I was looking to see, man, I would love to be acting, because they were shooting We Own the Night there.
Near your parents' house.
Right by my parents' house.
Wow.
Right where it all began. I was like, oh, I want to be an actor. That was where the premiere for Angel Fish was. I couldn't make it because I was working, but my girlfriend, my parents were there, and, you know, they were in their little red carpet moment.
So let's go back to you watching Spider-Man on TV.
Right.
What would Pedro now tell the young man watching Spider-Man? If you could offer him some advice, what would you tell him?
I would say ask for help. Because, and I still do this with myself now, because like my girlfriend Michelle is also involved in my Instagram. I try to do everything by myself. I've always felt that I can do it, and I'm gonna show everybody that I don't need anybody. And because of that way of thinking, it took me longer to get into all of the things that I wanted to do, because I didn't understand it. So I'm here trying to figure it out. I'm here doing tons of trial and error, and it hurts. When you hit an error after a trial, it hurts. And it takes long to heal. And then it takes even longer to get back into that rhythm that you were starting off with. So I would tell myself at the early age, like a puppy age, just ask for help, and be more acquainted. And this, I guess, translates to now to do more networking, just to be around and surrounded with more people, because we're all in this together. You know, you and I are helping each other out. And if I ever need you for something, or you ever need me for something, I would love to, because you and I have that networking under our belt. And I didn't do that when I was younger. I just wanted to do it all alone. And I would just tell myself and just tell everybody that you can't do everything alone. There's just so far you can go. You know, I saw a quote, which is, if I remember it correctly, it said, if you want to go fast, be alone. But if you want to go far, be together.
That's poignant.
Yeah, just like a former classmate of mine, Gene Pope, very talented actor that's here right now. Learn what everyone else knows and go from there. You know, he's someone that is also part of my journey. He inspired me very much, and look at him here in this channel, listening to what we are talking.
That's weird, because I somewhat know Gene. I haven't met Gene in person yet, but I know him virtually. I did not know that you two had a connection. That's awesome.
Yeah, I met Gene 10 years ago. We were in class together at the Maggie Flanagan studio. He's a very talented, inspiring actor that, you know, you could, if you see this film called Bruce, that homie of ours, Eden Marishow, produced, you know, he produced, and he's one of the big dogs in that film.
Awesome. Awesome. So what's in the future for you, brother? What do you have coming up?
Well, Right now, I just came out of an insane week of auditioning. So the next step of this is getting on my knees and praying up to God to, bless me with that opportunity. At the current moment, I had just finished doing a podcast that, that's why in the beginning I was like, I'm really proud of you doing this, because I know what it's like to try to get guests, do a podcast, do things, and it's not an easy thing, but you're doing it, and again, recognition, props to you. But I had just finished doing my podcast. At the moment now, I'm currently brainstorming ideas for what I want to do and produce for myself, because it's not to say that I'm not auditioning every week. I'm auditioning every week. Thank you, God. Knock on wood. Everything is going my way when it comes to my agency and my manager. I'm very well represented, so I have a lot of things coming for me. So I just need to now, instead of waiting for them to come through for me, what can I do on my own? So I'm working on like web projects that I want to put out and do. It's a little difficult now during COVID, but it seems that Instagram and TikTok is a very good platform to really take a shot, and see what happens. You put your name in the hat, and you never know what happens. So keeping my creative processes going. And dude, honestly, like if it wasn't for this pandemic, I wouldn't have been dancing as much as I am, and I'm getting back to sick mode, wash ice Jesus form again. and just just staying level-headed and studying and working with the kids. Everything that I'm doing now, I'm just gonna continue going until this wave shifts me in another direction, and we just take it from there. Oh,
Yeah.
can't forget, me and Michelle, we've got a concept video that we are about to produce and put together.
Awesome. I
And
can't
that's
wait.
gonna be fuego.
Mucho fuego. I can't wait. I can't wait. That's something I definitely want to see. Talk to me a little bit about the auditioning. Because you hear it, some people love it, some people hate it, some people embrace it. Talk to me about auditioning for you. What is that like for you?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because I don't belong to a theater company. I don't belong to a core group of people that meets up every week. So this gives me an opportunity to now audition for things that I wouldn't be doing if I were in a group or whatever the case may be. It gives me an opportunity to now do what I love to do. I love acting. I'm not in this because of fame. I'm not in this for the perks. I don't even see myself when I'm on TV. I just love the transformation of doing this. When I get that email or phone call and it tells me that I have an audition for XYZ, I become the happiest camper ever. So I'm the kind of person that prefers to be at an audition with a casting director there. It is the scariest thing you can go through, but at the same time, it's more heartfelt. And if you have that magical moment and they see it, it's just very gratifying, So to answer your question, as far as like auditioning goes, I've invested a lot of the whole pandemic relief stuff that I've gotten to equipment. I bought a really good camera. I got great lighting, sound, the whole works. I invested in voiceover equipment. I invested in a ton of things that will help me put my quality of work at a higher light, pun intended. So to go a little deeper into your question, when I get an audition, I have my coach that I instantly reach out to. Me and her, we go deep. She's a member of the Actors Studio, and I've been knowing her since before I was even auditioning. It's just that we just so happened to connect, and my process is I learn everything myself. I fully memorize, and I really do the best that I can, and this is the competitor in me, to get everything. Like, not just memorization, but like, who am I talking to? What does this person mean to me? What am I doing before I get in the scene? What do I want from this person? What do I want at the end of the scene? How do I want the person to feel about me, and how should I feel about her or him or whatever the case may be? What is my overall objective? And then once I get that, then I got to think now like a producer. Okay, if I'm seeing this on TV or on the big screen, what is this supposed to say to the audience? So
Mm-hmm.
all of those things now come in me. And then when I go to my coach, Dina, I'm like, all right, Dina, this is what I got. And we take it away. 9 out of 10 times, she's readjusting the hell out of me, but she puts me on the right track. And, you know, just yesterday, she was coaching me for this pilot, and it was supposed to be an hour. We went 90 minutes, but it's because she sees things that, you know, you remember when you were writing papers, right, for school?
Yeah. Yes.
When you see the same text, it just looks like that. But then when you take time off and you come back, you'll see things different. Or when someone grades your stuff, that's that third eye that you didn't know could have captured things that, like, oh my God, like, how the hell did I miss that? Oh my God, it says interior day right in front of me. Why am I talking like it's 5 a.m, you know? So she comes, adjusts me, and then Michelle is my reader. My reader, camera, and lighting person, and then I get to really play. And it's fun for her too, because, you know, as she's been helping me more and becoming more invested in the acting world, I encourage her to really play it out, because that's going to help me.
Right. Yeah. It actually sounds like since the pandemic and you've invested all of this stuff into yourself, there's a transformation that's happening with you, and you're going to come out blossoming and turning into producer director. That's what it seems like to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I love producing. I'll be honest with you. I love being able to construct something with my bare hands, like bringing people in together, the right people. And through my good fortune, I've been very blessed. As you can see right now, the people that are tuned in right now, a lot of these people are family members and just extended family members that are here and are very supportive as I am with them. I tend to always want to be surrounded by good people, and just bringing them together to work, and then we all mesh. We do a lot. So I enjoy that part of producing. But I do have some projects that have unfortunately needed to be stalled due to COVID that I wanted to produce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a good writer, but I am a good, decent producer, because I can bring in good, talented people together, from actors to behind the camera to, you know, editing and whatnot. So I really do enjoy that part as well.
Awesome. What is your dream role? If there's a role that you could create for yourself that you could really sink your teeth into, and you know, it's the kind of roles that I call delicious. If it's delicious to you, what kind of role is that for you? Describe that character.
I would start by saying a role that has more than 6-7 lines. My entire career has been around like very limited amount of things to say. There's just not enough great brown Latino roles. There are Latino roles, but then what they don't tell you is that there's also like the brown Latino roles, and there's not many of those, you know. And I'll also add on and say this is something that frustrates me a lot. You know, I'm Dominican, but I get a lot of Latinx roles that are very much where I have to be Mexican. All this whole week, I had 3 big auditions where I had to be a Mexican from Cali, and there's no problem with that at all. I don't mind that, but there are certain features that I don't possess that that I can't control. You know, that a Mexican American does have. You can kind of tell who's Mexican and who's not. And when I audition for these things, it's not disappointing. It's just like, oh, I really gotta like now nail this, you know. Versus when I'm auditioning as a Latino here in New York, it's a melting pot of capabilities, you know. So I would start there. But as a kid, and I still say this now, you know, when I wasn't even thinking about acting, but I just wanted to be like, man, I wish one day I could play this. I'm a sucker for biopics. Long before, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, I've been a Queen fan. I wanted to play Freddie Mercury. I really, really wanted to play Freddie Mercury, and that was one of the roles that I was really looking forward to. The second role that hasn't been done, and I would hope to produce this and put it out there. I met this man and I saw his documentary. It was called Searching for Sugar Man. Did you see that some
Yes.
years back?
Yes.
I would love to play Rodriguez. If I
Yeah.
could play Rodriguez, Sugar Man, that's my dream role. I would absolutely love to play Rodriguez and produce that and make it happen. And I say that because, and you could ask Michelle about this, I'm really good at capturing other people's movements and
Because you're
capturing
a dancer.
other
You're
people's
a dancer.
tendencies.
You're a dancer.
Like, well, me and my girl Michelle, we're binging trash TV right now just because we've watched a lot of like dramas and award season stuff. So we just want to see things that doesn't make you think so much. We're watching Love Island. So any opportunity, we're like reenacting moments, and she's like, "Man, you do that so well." And it's like I just have a thing about like really capturing an essence of someone else. So those are dream things for me to do. And I actually had the opportunity to do something like that just about a month ago. You know, there's I can't say too much on it, but they're recreating. Did you see How to Be a Latin Lover?
No.
My guy, you have an assignment. Check out How to Be a Latin Lover. It's starring Eugenio Derbez. He's a very renowned Mexican actor.
Okay.
And he invaded the American market, and he's just been killing it. He did Batteries Not Included, How to Be a Latin Lover, Overboard. Overboard was kind of whack, don't watch that. But How to Be a Latin Lover was great.
Okay.
They're turning that into a series. And I had the good fortune of auditioning for the lead role, which is the younger version of him.
Okay.
So that allowed me to then do what I just instinctually I just have an eye for that, just to like learn mannerisms, accent work, and things like that. I got to see the movie again just for reinforcement, and just went along with that, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure that came off really great since you said it was fun and you enjoyed it. Stuff that we tend to hold close to the heart, they tend to come off without a hitch because you have different kind of intent as it relates to it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those things that when you really look deep and internally in yourself, you tell yourself, wow, like nobody gives you compliments, but you got to find things that you yourself do and compliment yourself, pat yourself on the back, and tell yourself, this is what I'm good at, and I should explore this more. You know?
That's true. True. So I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you talking to me. This was awesome. I've learned more about you. I hope that whoever's watching learned more about you. You know, I hold you in high regard as an artist, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from you. If you could tell people where to find you and how to, you know, stay connected to you on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again for giving me time like you did 5 years ago and like you did now. You know, you're someone that I admire because of what you do. It's not easy to be in your position and getting people to tune in when there's a lot of competitors doing the same exact thing. So thank you for even just extending and reaching out. It really made my day, and I appreciate that.
Always.
I would say to people that, you know, you can reach me on Instagram at Broadway Dro, just like we are here, and my website www.pedromorillo.com. I think that sums everything up. But if I could leave off with telling you one thing, and everybody that's here, even though a lot of people that are here right now are friends, family, and really good, close to my heart, you know, extended family that I have, one thing that I've always lived by, and it's allowed me to be the man that I am, because I went 4 years without booking a big TV role. I was doing a lot of indie projects, and that's a hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
But I went 4 years doing that, and then when it happened, it just happened. And what I'll leave off saying is, nobody ever cares about how you fall. They care about how you get back up. And that's just something that I've fallen. I'm always on my face. I'm always falling, but I'm always getting up. And if I can inspire people and do that so they can also get up whenever they're down, then by all means.
Absolutely. It's a great conversation, brother. I appreciate you for your time. And I want to also tell you, for me, any people that I interview, that I ever had any contact with in the artistic world, we are family. You said it's been 5 years since we've spoken before. It may not be 5 years in the future, but you're definitely on my radar, and I'm going to constantly check in with you. For as long as you are Pedro, I'm going to check in with you to see how you're doing. All right?
And I'll add on and say, wherever I end up this year, next year, wherever, when that big role comes, the first interview that I'm going to give is going to be you. All right? So get ready for that. Whenever that is. I don't know when the fuck that'll be. But in the near future, you and I got another dance to tango, all right?
All right. And tell your lady Michelle, I know she's listening, but Conversations with Chike Evans is calling.
Well, we're gonna switch sides. I'll be in the bedroom. She'll be here in the living room with the little backdrop, and you guys just do your thing, all right? She's got some stories, man. So definitely don't sleep on that.
I'm sure. Absolutely, brother. I salute you and thank you so much.
God bless, man. Keep doing your thing. See you
Likewise.
soon.
Thank you.